A man used to give one coin to a boy, and he asked him to put in the well. He said, okay, I'll put it in the well. Another day he gives us, 10 paisa. Put it in the well, he will put it. But then he gave 1 rupee to the child and said, okay, make money out of 1 rupee. Earn some money, go and do some business. He earned some money out of that. And then he asked, whatever money you have made profit, you return 1 rupee to me, and the profit you drop in the well. He said, no, I won't drop. So it is that he did it himself. So he knew the value of money, So when people do it themselves, they know the value.
So it was the beginning of a small idea of how very poor people, including very poor women, can come together and free themselves from fear, because fear was the main factor that was affecting them from coming together and doing things or having a meaningful life.
Manavodaya is, for me, a concept, a vision, more than it is an institution or place. It's a way of thinking that emphasizes that if we want to change the world, we must also be a part of that change, and we must focus on changing ourselves.
You see, I'll go back to the literal meaning, and so it's Manav is human and Uday is rising. And so when you think about it, it goes along with our worldview that we are the universe. It's already inside us and it's rising. So Manavodaya basically facilitates in some way for people for their potential to rise in them. And if they're in poverty, that's a good place to start, so that they can start seeing that. And we saw this in the powerful women, if I may use the word powerful, these confident women. When we said, how has it changed your life? And he says, I couldn't leave the home and I'm here. Do you need more evidence? So I think that shows the rise. And it may be on a social level at this point, but they definitely will get rid of their helplessness, and I think that's a clear sign of the human potential rising, coming to the surface. So I think to me that's what Manavodaya is, and that's what Varun and Amla are doing.
If you're looking for change, start with Manavodaya. Move over to Kutumbodaya, which means family awakening, and then village awakening, and then awakening of all, which is Sarvodaya. That is when we coined the word Manavodaya as the name of the organization.
Manavodaya emphasizes on internal and external growth and how to bridge those. And it is also about self-empowerment. And I think that empowerment comes from internal first. Manavodaya is not a charity.
I suppose in a way charity and not charity and expect people to do for themselves. So that's been something that's really, because of course it's good to support people, and if people have got significant disabilities, one should do some things, but you've got to be careful that doing doesn't become undermining of the person or patronising of the person.
Sustainable change meant something more deep, where people start owning the process of change. That's when we gradually came up with the idea of people building up their own resources through their pooled savings. We learnt a little about it from experiments in Bangladesh and South India, but we did our own experiments here, through which a group of 10 to 15 people, when they pool their savings and start loaning among themselves, it gradually builds up their confidence in their own ability to take collective decisions. It builds up their ability to manage cash. It builds up their ability to deal with outsiders through their own inner strength. that gradually evolves as their own small kitty grows, as it develops maturity to handle its own conflicts, as it develops more maturity to handle credit, and in fact empowers them to deal with anyone, including the local authorities, including the local village committees, the police, the revenue.
So the facilitator, who is known to the village and will bring together groups of women and will support the process of the women building the confidence of themselves as a group, and through that confidence for the individual women. Some of the stories that you've seen across the website of the outcome, the changes, the difference that those groups have made into individual women's lives is extraordinary, and of course then to their families as well.
We have experience going to the village and seeing poor of the poorest, and there's so much energy in them, so enterprising, and sometimes humorous. When you talk with them, you know, you ask questions to them, they ask you back, and that kind of empowerment and the ability to communicate, to articulate, I think is fascinating.
What we saw in the first village was women in their homes, men working as labourers in the city. And what you immediately saw in the second village was a bustle. You saw economic activity. You didn't see men necessarily depending on wage labour in a city, but there was much more of people running their own small businesses. There felt like there was more energy and more prosperity and much more economic activity in the village, and income being generated by people for themselves, and that was impressive. And of course the other very obviously impressive thing was to see the strength of the group. You know, I think there were 16 groups in that village, and we met with a really large group representing most of them. You know, it was quite vibrant. It was clearly very strongly owned by those people, and it had been going on a long time, and I think that's pretty rare.
These women know that change is possible, and they know how they have their own stories of how they have been empowered and how their lives are different through this process.
Manavodaya offers a sort of a philosophy and a practice that brings together that notion of social justice together with a sense of personal development through self-awareness and introspection.
In much of my work, I found that people were interested in planning for the change in others and not very interested in reflecting on change within themselves.
As a practitioner, be it in social care or elsewhere, the thing that I must most attend to is my own behaviour, and through that behaviour I can hope to create change in whatever way through the work that I do, but that if I don't address my own behaviour first, then what I'm going out to do is try to change other people, and that's really the wrong way around. We start with ourselves.
And if it comes from your heart, the things become easy. You don't have to force anyone to do anything, you know, it's automatic.
Best example of empathy is the mother, whereby she feels the pulse of a child all the time. Spandan means vibration. There is a process of picking up vibrations, even though it may not be physical. Spandan is therefore all about sensitivity. In Manavodaya, the process of inner change, calming of the mind, literally spontaneously leads to connections with ourselves, which helps us in connections with others. We therefore believe that the whole idea of inner and outer change can be facilitated by better understanding and practice of yoga dimensions. In the various courses that we undertake in Manavodaya and now and also in Manavodaya UK, we have been stressing these aspects when we are finding more and more people agreeing that this has helped them in transforming their way of looking at life and work. And I believe this will go a long way in promoting meaningful social change.
In particular, though, I suppose the Manavodaya approach to bottom-up development with people who are some of the most disempowered in our communities we have seen some really effective and powerful examples of that working that were really very inspiring, and I've got a list of I suppose tools that I hope that I will take back with me and be able to use better in my work, as well as a better understanding of the kind of underpinning philosophy of it. And certainly just one of those tools which is just seems to be so effective is that idea of creating spaces for people, creating the right places, right types of spaces for people. So whether they are colleagues, whether they're senior colleagues, whether they're junior colleagues, whether they're colleagues outside the organisation, whether they are family and friends, whether they are people with a disability, each of those groups of people can flourish and offer the most they have to offer depending on the space that is created for and with them. And that one idea I think is, well, it's just one of many really, but just one that is particular resonance for me, I think.
I'll take away very many inspiring stories. Most strongly, I will take away sitting in the presence of wonderfully empowered women and hearing their stories and feeling their strength, and to see them from the poorest of the castes in India was truly amazing.
Manavodaya can change, can do this change in a village level. They are illiterate, they don't have much resources. The only thing they have is themselves and the group, and with that they can do so many things.
This is our challenge now, because we now know that it can be done, but we have not yet been able to convince those who have the resources, the government, or let's say donors around the world, who are still continuing to bring about change in the same old ways through charity or by giving. That is well-meaning, but yet does not bring about genuine, meaningful, sustainable change.
They should tell them how to make a blanket and not just giving a few people some blankets and having photographs in the newspaper. So I really don't like that idea. So that's the only message I would like to give, that whatever you feel like, you should always think of, okay, I am at the better position, how can I make other people also at the same position?